Actually, one of the things I posted, Korea was like, we could have used this for shock. Yeah. If I post this meme to shock and it doesn't get okayed, then it's no longer relevant and I can't post it to main, then it's like a perfectly good meme wasted.
Alright, welcome back to the Hot Pot Podcast with Becky, Bonnie, and Sen. Is that right? Is that the three of us? Is that the three people?
Yeah,
who are
that's
doing
our
the
names,
podcast?
yeah.
Okay,
You're
good.
doing great.
I got the names right.
That's us.
It's been a 2-week break because Bonnie had to travel and I had to travel.
And Sen had to stay at home.
Yeah, I partied hard and gamed every day.
I hate you so much. So today we are going to be covering Sen's origin story in Overwatch Esports. And that'll be the concluding episode to our origin stories. And then we're going to talk about Overwatch slang in Chinese and in Korean because we think it's super funny and interesting to compare the kind of different kinds of jargon that fans come up with. And we will not be talking about Ellie because we're fucking sick of it.
Yep. And to finish off, we will be discussing Contenders Korea playoffs, which are finals rather, which are happening next week.
In Busan,
Yay!
where we can't go.
Unfortunately, we'll have to watch from across the world at like 1 a.m.
Oh god. I'm old. I'm too old for this.
Yeah. I mean, Sen's got like Asia Pacific privilege, but
Oh my god, this time zone privilege, I can't. Alright. So, Sen, if you wanna... Oh, wait. Before we go into Sen's origin story, real quick. We did want to very quickly discuss New York Excelsior's social media snafu that happened this afternoon, which is the afternoon of January 13th.
mess.
Mess.
Yeah,
Mess.
that's my entire comment. I would not like to comment further.
It was very out of character for them because they're not really a memey team. They're so focused on hype and like kind of having this cohesive sort of image where it's all like, oh, we're so cool, rock stars, we're New York. And then out of nowhere, there's this really scuffed meme. Like, it's not even a good... It's like impact font, really?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting weekend for NYXL.
Oh, yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, as Sensei said, it was pretty out of character for... Like, as you say, I've never seen them post memes before.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe one of the social media guys was like, perhaps we should start branching into this area. What's funny with the kids
Let's
nowadays?
try the funnies.
Oh, I know. Social media people get accused of being like, hello, fellow kids all the time, but this was truly
Hello.
Hello, my fellow kids!
I don't know.
Alright.
I just feel like maybe some intern was like in their feelings and they're like, I have to get this out.
Oh.
Send tweet.
Karen, why won't you respect my career? Please come back.
Well, Brian, whatever your name is, intern, social media person, keep those feelings to yourself, with yourself and your significant other, and to therapy. Go to couples therapy if this is truly an issue for you.
He can't. She left and she took the dog. Let's move into
Sen's origin story.
a better
Alright.
social media content creator.
Thank you. I'm very flattered.
Please
welcome.
regale us with your origins.
Alright, so weirdly enough, I didn't get into pro Overwatch through the World Cup. I actually, back in the day, I had a lot of friends who watched a lot of Pro League of Legends, and I sort of got into it purely by osmosis because everyone around me was talking about it, and it would just be like chanting TSM, TSM, like all the time. So here's a cursed confession. I got morbidly curious and I looked up TSM and I ended up watching the entire first season of TSM Legends on YouTube. and I got really into TSM. I was an ex-TSM fan, and
Oh, Sen.
look, to be fair, it was socially acceptable to be a TSM fan at the time.
At the time.
At the time, it was still okay to be a TSM fan. Yeah, so I really liked the production of like Pro LoL. I thought it was really cool. So when I first actually started playing Overwatch, I was like, wonder if there's an Overwatch equivalent of this. Wonder if there could be. And so I literally hopped on Google and just Googled Overwatch Esports. And the first match I ever watched was a YouTube VOD of Kongdu Uncia versus Lunatic High from Season 1. And I only watched the map, I think I only watched like 2 maps.
Mm-hmm.
And I went for Kongdu Uncia because they were owning Lunatic High.
Oh
And
God,
Kongdu
back in the
Uncia
day.
was like they were my very first favorite team, and because they were owning Lunatic High, and also because of Birdring. But oh yes, how the turntables. Because by Season 2 I started watching seriously, and I became a diehard Lunatic High fan. And Season 3 I was watching religiously, and that finals, that was a grueling religious experience. And Season 4 I watched in great pain, and that pain has not stopped since.
Oh God, it's too real.
Yeah, and that's how I got into Overwatch Esports.
Nice.
A simple Google search.
A simple Google search. Isn't that responsible for so many things?
Is this an ad for Google now? Are we sponsored by Google? Do they need all the ad ref?
Google owns YouTube, which is where we host our podcast. So
That's true. So actually, yeah, they're kind of sponsoring us in a
Yeah.
roundabout fashion.
Oh,
Thank
God.
you, our corporate overlords.
Google has a grip on everyone's lives.
So that was Sen's origin story, and now we're going to talk about Overwatch slang, which actually, if I remember correctly, this was almost one of my earliest interactions with Sen on the internet, on twitter.com.
Yeah, I think so.
Because we were talking about Overwatch slang, and like we just got into a conversation about it on Twitter, I think maybe with Kathy, and yeah, we decided it would be fun to put together like a cool list of slang from these different areas and explanations behind their etymology.
Okay, I'll get started with nanoboost. So in Chinese, that's 激素, which is like to inject a hormone or a steroid. So you're like all hopped up on steroids when you get nanoed. And I know there's a Korean equivalent. Yeah.
That's like almost a more PC version of the Korean one, which is we use the word bong, which is slang for meth. So if you've ever watched Cruz, actually, if you watch Cruz play in Korea, then he learned a lot of Overwatch slang when he was there playing solo queue, and he would yell when he was playing Genji, "Bong me!" like as in like nano me.
In like
that was pretty-
in like an extremely British accent. Boom
Yeah,
me,
bong me, bong me.
Not to, make fun of the British or anything, but your accents are ridiculous.
So yes, please go on.
Okay, next one is slang referring to someone who's really bad at Genji. So like a noob Genji. We call it 幼儿园, which is pronounced the same as kindergarten, but it means toddler Genji.
Aww,
It's really,
that's kind of
it's cute because it conjures up like the image of him in like the little yellow hat and the
he's
blue
flailing.
smock of like...
The what? Is that your
know, like
idea of a
the-
kindergartner?
No, he's Japanese, so like a little Japanese kindergartner with the yellow hat and the blue smock and the red backpack.
the uniform, the kindergarten uniform. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I am not familiar. I should watch more anime.
watch more anime.
And then further along that line, a squishy is known as a 小朋友, which is like, it means small friend, but we use it to refer to like small children. So it's like a small child. And further to that, a baby diva is called a 小妹妹, which is a little sister.
Little sister.
Yeah.
In Korean, so diva has a Korean name, which is Songhana, Song being the family name. And so when you listen to Korean players in comms, they say diva for the diva mech, but then when they need to kill baby diva, they say Songhana, Songhana, Songhana. So they literally call her by her name.
Yeah.
All right.
And then also another thing is regarding Baby Diva is the Baby Diva stall. So when you're stalling her, in Chinese it's known as Yang Xiao Mei, which means you're raising her and you're nurturing her. Like you're feeding her and you're giving her water and you're like gently raising her to adulthood, and then you brutally kill her.
Because the ultimate goal is to kill her before she can remake. Wow, that's passive aggressive.
But you're raising her gently, you're feeding her ult charge until she gets her mech back, and then you kill her before she gets it.
Mm-hmm. Ah, parenthood.
Parenthood.
This is more slang that's used out of the game rather than in game. It's called like 拔萝卜, which means to pull up the turnip. Can you guys guess what that is?
Yes, because we have the Google Doc in front of us.
Yeah, it's more fun if you pretend you have the Google Doc. Close your eyes, jeez.
I've already looked at it.
We prepare for these episodes, Sam.
I know, but it's
Said we are all looking at the Google Doc.
I just wanted us to be a funny improv comedy podcast.
Okay, pull up the turnip. It sounds sexual, I have to say. I gotta be honest here.
Here's a rhetorical question for our listeners. What do you think pulling the turnip means?
I don't tell us in the comments what you think it means. Don't tell us.
Definitely, because of Sen's accent, it sounds like a weird Australian sex thing. But
yeah, I mean, we call blowjobs gobbies, so.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's stop before we get flagged by YouTube. Now you can explain what it actually means.
Okay, pulling the turnip. To pull up a turnip means to res somebody.
Why?
I think because the motion of it looks like, because like the orb
I
thing.
think because she bends and she like lifts up.
Yeah, like it looks like
Okay.
she's like, yeah.
Like another thing about resing people in Chinese, like it is also like tuo, which means like it's to drag someone up. That kind of like imagery. So you like pull up the turnip.
Gotcha.
But this one isn't so much used in game. This is just like a general thing. Moving on, we've got dive, which is fungal, which means letting the dogs out, or like unleashing the dogs. And the origin of this comes from the Overwatch beta, where you could pick double Zen and you put orbs on like 2 mobile DPS, and the orbs just don't go away, so you can like unleash these dogs, which are your high mobility
They'll never
DPS.
die.
Yeah, and then your dogs will go bite people. They'll bite people on the other team.
I distinctly remember the first time you were telling me a bit about Chinese Overwatch slang. I remember thinking there's a lot of dog stuff in the slang.
I mean, there's dog stuff in our regular slang too. That's Chinese for you.
So the Koreans would, like, the official name for dive was like a very literal translation, which is 돌진, which it means to like aggressively sort of move forward and like dive forward. But so dive meta was 돌진 meta. But then when it came to actually talking about specific comps, so dive comp, we typically think the conventional, I think, definition would be Winston Diva, Genji Tracer, Lucio Zen, I think, was the predominant dive comp for a long time. And so in Korean, in order to maybe account for whenever you wanted to switch out like a healer or something like that, you would shorten it to one syllable for each hero. So Winston Diva, Genji Tracer, which is the forms the foundation of most dive, is Windigente. Winston Diva, Genji Tracer, Windigente. And then Winston Diva, Genji Tracer, Lucio Zen is Windigente Rujen. So that's sort of like you listen. This is how a lot of players also communicate. If you listen to open mics and things like that, they're like, "We have to go Windigente. We have to do it," because that's what everyone falls back to eventually when nothing else works.
Simpler time before we got stuck in this goats meta.
I'm actually really fond of like comp naming conventions in Chinese because they seem to like convey a lot of information without using a lot of words, and a lot of that is just abbreviations. But like one comp in particular that I'm quite fond of the name of is like 长短枪, which means like long short gun, and that refers to when you have a long range DPS and like a mid or close range DPS.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can have like, essentially you could say like, this comp is like 222and 长短枪, which is like 222, and but then you have one long range and one short range DPS, and I think that just conveys a lot in a very small amount of words.
And it's kind of poetic.
Yeah. And there's also like 天地狗, which is like sky ground dog, which refers to an airborne DPS, so Pharah and any other DPS basically. So any comp with a Pharah, and those are your two, and like a high mobility DPS, those are your two DPS.
Oh, interesting. Can you do the healing one?
Ugh. Okay. So first off, healing
I don't like this
or
one at all.
support in Chinese is 奶, which means milk, because milk sustains you and nourishes you, and it gives you health, good health. And so as a result, a main healer is 奶妈, which means literally milk mom, but it actually means like a wet nurse. But so if you want someone to heal you, you can say 给我点奶 or 奶我, which means give me some milk or milk me, as in like give me milk.
Oh,
milk me.
yeah.
Oh, can you imagine crews in China going 奶me, 奶me?
That's exactly what I just thought, actually.
This
Oh,
episode
wow.
brought to you by Cruise.
Cruz, if you're listening, don't listen to this.
If you're listening, stop listening.
Stop listening.
Sorry.
Speaking of healing, though, I guess this is also like a very sort of Korean-specific thing. You have to look it up. Like, maybe we can like post a link somewhere, but the Roadhog self-heal. You know how he drinks from this little bottle that he has.
Oh, I call it vape.
His
actually.
vape, yeah,
Call
his
it
bomb.
vape?
That's my personal slang. Yeah, like yeah. After he does it, I Roadhog no vape.
Yeah,
Roadhog
no,
vape,
that's what
or-
everyone says, isn't it?
What? But wait, why do you call it vape? He doesn't look like
Because
he's
he's
smoking.
vaping.
I don't know. I mean, I think I heard it like I think one of my friends said it in like 2016, and it just like stuck
Okay.
Well,
forever. I'll just always think of it as vaping.
that's what he is. Like, there's vape juice, vape clouds coming out of his vape.
But so in Korea, the shape of the bottle that he drinks from to self-heal looks a lot like this bottle, this small kind of like a tubby-looking bottle that people use, that people identify strongly with a drink called banana milk. So if you ever listen to YBT reviewing matches, Korean fans have probably heard him like say, and Roadhog is going to drink his banana milk, and he's healed back up. And it's a very Korean specific thing. But if you look it up, if you look up the bottle, Korean banana milk, you'll know exactly why.
All right, moving on. Okay, Farah. So Farah is sometimes referred to as faji, which is fa chicken, and this has a couple of layers to it. So first off, Farah's Chinese name translated is it's Fa Lao Zhi Ying, which means the eagle of the pharaoh, or eagle of the pharaoh. And so
Eagle of the Pharaoh. Oh wow.
yeah, Fa Lao Zhi Ying. It's actually quite cool. And but pharaohs who can't stay in the air are equivalent to 走地鸡, which is a chicken that walks on the ground.
Oh my god.
So, the saying is that 落地法拉不如鸡, which is like a pharaoh on the ground is worse than a chicken. And so
Oh my God.
a fa chicken is like someone who really sucks at like pharaoh and just is on the ground all the time. But sometimes it's just used to refer to as pharaoh in general. And so the image of Fa Mercy sometimes is like, oh, Angela is walking her chicken. I actually saw a
Fucking
fan out
dead.
of that
Oh
one
my
and I like,
fucking
lost
God.
it. And then so if Mercy is like pocketing Genji, it's like, oh, Angela is walking her dog because DPS is dog.
Oh my
Jesus.
god. More
I
dogs.
feel like a Chinese slang is very anti-DPS.
Anti-DPS.
Yeah.
Tell me what Pharmacy is, because I'm looking at it on the Google.
No, don't make me say it out loud.
Then do it.
The Google Doc? Sorry, we're completely...
Oh yes, we're going in blind.
Spontaneous,
This
okay?
is improv comedy.
Yeah.
This is
plan,
reality.
No plan at all.
This is
okay.
all off the cuff, like, all from
Yeah.
this big brain over here.
Yeah, don't break the immersion.
Sorry, jeez. I'm sorry.
Alright, okay. Okay, so pharmacy is 双飞, which is double flying, which sounds very innocuous. Innocuous? Is that a word?
Innocuous?
Sounds very harmless. Yeah, innocuous.
Yeah.
I forgot English for a second because I've been speaking Chinese. The 双飞, like double flying, it sounds very harmless, but it also refers to something else in Chinese slang. And it refers to let's just imagine you're a dude. And
I know.
I mean, I'd rather not.
This is... no thanks.
I'd rather not.
Imagine that you're a dude and you're having a threesome and you're banging 2 hot chicks. That's what it means. Double flying means banging 2 hot chicks. In a
Good for
threesome.
the dude. Good for the dude.
Good for the dude.
Thank you for sharing.
I wish I didn't.
Mhm.
I'm sorry you guys had to hear that.
I mean, we already read it. I mean, what?
No, I mean, to our listeners, I'm sorry you had to hear that.
Quick honorable mention for what me and one of my Twitter friends, Moff, have lovingly dubbed the Who Are You special, because he does that thing on Genji where he Dragon Blades of Pharmacy. And I feel like I've not really seen too many Genjis, or any Genji, in fact, pull that off.
It's like an alpha move. It's a power move.
It's a power move. It's
It's absolutely flexing on the enemy team. Like, yeah, he's like an anti-air Genji, which is, you don't see that very often.
No, not the most common thing.
Yeah.
You don't see Genji at all nowadays.
Rip Genji.
That's just a bit of a joke about the meta for you all. As you may know,
For those
we
of
currently
you who
have
are in the know about the meta.
For those of you who aren't completely aware right now, we have a 3 tank, 3 support meta going on.
Here's a totally smooth segue. Speaking of goats, in Chinese, that's known as
Oh,
303.
good segue.
Yeah, it's known as 303 because it refers to, like 3 tanks, 0 DPS, 3 support.
Oh.
Oh.
That's what the zero is doing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Korean I think we just call it samsam, which is 3-3, but
Yeah.
then goats I think also became more popularized. I also want to quickly move through some of the interesting Korean slang that I wasn't able to wedge into Sen's list as she was explaining. There's a들, which is the Korean word for son, and that's what we call Torbjorn's turret.
I think that's so cute.
There's a lot of like pseudo-historical moments that earn their own special monikers. So anyone who's watched Korean Contenders or Korean Overwatch during Apex will know how much is tied up in Eichenwald's the bridge on Eichenwald right before the second point. That's where...
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Never heard of it.
Which is where Runaway were stopped from their ultimate victory in Apex twice. They got stopped at that exact point twice. Once in Season 2 and once in Season 4 at the finals.
Yeah.
So for Korean fans, an affectionate name or a sad name is the Bridge of Tears. We call it the Bridge of Tears.
Bonnie's laughing, but actually she's crying right now.
Oh, don't cry.
Yeah.
We also have a joke called 607, 507, 607, which means 5 ults you win, 6 ults you lose. And this is...
I know exactly what this refers to.
Was it...
Mighty
I forgot what it's called
Mighty
again.
AOD.
Mighty AOD,
Mighty
versus
AOD and
Losing
Losing
High.
High.
Yes, last push of Hollywood. They use all 6 ults, and they didn't get... I don't think Lunatic High even used any ults, actually, to counter them. They just, like, brushed it off, and it was the most bizarre moment. But yeah, so... but this became like a meme or a running joke with casters when they would see all 6 alts pop up on the top of the screen. They'd say, I don't know about this. But weirdly, you do see this when they have 5 alts. They do tend to win the team fight. It's like the 6 alt curse.
Hold on, actually, you know about that, you know that picture of me watching Overwatch on my phone at my prom? Yeah. That's the match that I was watching.
Oh my god.
That's the map that I was watching in that photo.
That's too funny.
Yeah. I experienced it in a very unique setting, if you will. But yeah, keep going.
The moving platforms on maps such as Volskaya Industries, Route 66, and Junkertown. So we call it 회전초밥, which is the Korean term for conveyor belt sushi.
Yeah, the sushi train. That's what my friend and I call it too.
Speaking of,
shout out to Japan. Thank you for sushi.
Speaking of food, the name for the Winston Dome shield is hoppang, which is the Korean word for a warm bun that you can get in the winter that are dome shaped.
So cute.
You get them in convenience stores. They have a sweet or savory filling. Anyway, they look like hoppang. That's another term that people use pretty often in competitive. So you don't actually hear this very often, but apparently it was a thing back when like it's a thing. If you see a Symmetra, where basically and this is like old Symmetra too, but back when you could place 6 turrets around a single point, they'd call that a car wash. And I mean, some of these are like out of date, but I guess this is still such a relevant term. When you're stalling for a long time on a point like 2CP, so literally what you have to do is you have to stay on the point, right? Someone just has to have a toe on the point and you're still in the game. So Koreans would say, would call that pibiki, which is if you've ever had bibimbap, the Korean dish, bibimbap, then you'd know that it's a dish you have to really mix up and you have to rub everything together. So that's the verb. Pibiki means to rub or to yeah. It's like you have to just like keep your foot rubbing on the point.
Well, I guess it's accurate.
Yeah. I mean, if I read it on my document, I feel like it just reads very sexual, but it's not. Like, but because I just wrote you rub yourself on the point, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
It's different when you say it aloud.
All right, so that is basically the end of our discussion / exchange of interesting Overwatch slang. Anything else we want to add to that part?
Nothing except that vaping should be the
vaping should be
the universal term for Roadhog's heel.
In fact, I think Blizzard should just adopt that term for the
just call it vape.
Yeah, don't call it self-heal or anything like that. All right, so before we end, and we want to wrap up in a few minutes, but we thought we'd give a quick preview / shout out to Contenders Korea, which is happening when?
Next weekend?
Next weekend? Is that when it's happening? It's January 19th.
Okay, it is next week. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank God.
January 19th. It's like going to be freaking... Oh God, it's like it starts at midnight Eastern time on Saturday, and I'm going to freaking kill myself because that is so late.
Shouldn't it be like 3 p.m. for you then, actually?
Yeah, I think so. It's actually a really good time, but since it's on the weekend, I have human things to do when I leave the house, so...
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a person with a social life.
Jeez,
so,
rookie mistake.
I took a sabbatical from Contenders this season purely because I'm never home when it's on.
Yeah, well, Contenders is tiring work, so...
Yeah.
So it makes sense to take a break during this meta.
Yeah, I got tired of being a man watching a goat.
So, Bonnie, what are your impressions? I mean, I don't want to do predictions per se for the for the finals, but what is your take right now on the new runaway? where they are, how their strengths, stuff like that?
Well, first of all, I would say that a lot of people, I think, are engaging their strength. They're talking a lot about, oh, are they only good at goats? Are they a goats team? Are they only good at goats meta? The thing is, when you're trying to evaluate their strength right now, it doesn't really matter if they're not good at goats, because that's all they need to do, you know?
That's true. At least this season.
Yeah, at least this season. We'll worry about any other meta when we come to it. So, a lot of people are calling Runaway the best goats team in Korea right now, and I think I might agree with that, actually. GC Busan Wave would have been my pick, but they are not. They are no longer in the tournament.
In the playoffs.
They're no longer in playoffs. So
listen, I just need a moment, okay?
We're here to support you through your difficult time.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
I still love them. They will always be a great team.
Yeah, but not that match. Sadly.
I don't even know what happened.
Anyway, this is a very roundabout way of saying, I still genuinely don't know how good Runaway is in relation to a lot of the other teams, because I think they had an extremely easy group for them. And their playoffs were relatively painless. Element Mystic
really,
also had
WGS was painless? I mean, you think WGS sort of folded easily?
I did, yeah, actually, because even though they beat GC Busan Wave, first of all, it was super tight. A very weird series. And GC Busan Wave, I don't know what happened with them.
Yeah, me neither.
I would like to know what happened with them. So, yeah, I didn't really expect Runaway to have much problems. Definitely didn't expect them to go to the finals in technically their first season. Pleasant surprise. I think all the individual talent is there, though, because just as other great Korean teams before them, they have, like, a monster tank duo and a really good support line.
Yep.
Lee Jae-gon, first of all, my son. Second, to work that in there, he's first and foremost my son.
He's very sonable.
He's also he is very sonable. Also, he is a very good Lucio player. Like, if left unchecked, this guy will just tear up your entire front line by himself. So, also, he really takes care of his support counterpart, which I always appreciate. And I think most people would agree Mag is, like, the best main tank in Korea right now. Like, there's not much question about that one. He's just really good.
Having said that, I think this season has been a pretty pleasant discovery of multiple very talented main tanks. Because
Takoyaki would be my other pick.
Takoyaki,
he's really good as well.
Very, very strong. I also thought WGS's Karayan was a very impressive main tank when he was on form. And there were literally lost fights against GC Busan Wave that Karayan just clawed back with his bare hands.
Yeah, I remember being a bit in despair at that. He was just like, GC Busan Wave would be like 2 up, and then he would just shatter and then get like 4 people with one charge.
Yeah, and there would be times when he should have been dead a long time ago, and he was just staying alive, swinging around. And I also think, obviously Kaiser has showed up this season.
Yeah, return to form for Kaiser, because you get to play Reinhardt again. But yeah, I think it really exemplifies the idea that people have that Korea is like the best region for main tanks. Like, for some reason, Korea just produces really good main tanks.
It's also a good meta for main tanks to, really strut their stuff.
Yeah, like Reinhardt. This is both the worst and best meta to be a Reinhardt player.
Really, yeah. If you have the right team, it's a great time to be a Reinhardt. If you don't have your teammates with you, then oh boy, I'm sorry, honey.
Yeah, you either have a great time or a terrible time, and sometimes you have both at the same time.
Both at the same time. I think Element Mystic was actually largely in the same boat as Runaway, in that most of their teammates were signed into Overwatch League for the 2019 season. So they lost They lost guard, Jexe, Dako, Pokpo. They lost their coach, Levi. They lost Rebel. So basically the only members left over were Alpha and Sparkle. And Alpha, if I remember correctly, was like the backup main tank, not the main roster starter main tank.
Yeah, I don't think he played very little in season 2.
I did not see him too much, no.
All I remember about him is that he was on runway for about 2 seconds, and they were like, nah, we like Bumba better.
I do have to note that Element Mystic decided, instead of getting a new flex support, we're going to make Eggsy our new flex support because no other, we'd rather just do it in-house. Oh, actually, that's another player who stayed over. Okay, so they retained like 3 players.
Sparkle also.
Yeah, Sparkle,
obviously.
XD Alpha. Yeah, obviously. Well, he's so young. He's like a child.
Yeah, he can't even get into Overwatch League right now. And probably not for another like 10 seasons also.
Yeah,
so.
I think he's even younger than Who Are You?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, we'll be seeing him in Overwatch League season 16. So.
Season 16. But yeah, so basically this season for Element Mystic has been the story of Sparkle and Doomfist. Single-handedly running a pseudo Goats counter comp that no one else can really replicate because no one else can quite do this Doomfist thing that Sparkle is pulling off. It is literally the stuff of my nightmares as a support lane to see just this Doomfist unchecked and like fucking everyone up. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of answers Runaway comes up with for that, because I think we were starting to see Sparkle get checked more in the playoffs. So maybe in the finals we'll see that Doomfist finally neutralized, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I look a real clown right now because in our last episode I did say I thought they would be, done with the Doomfist after one thing, but
yeah.
They're not, and no one else has really been able to deal with it, so I mean, Runaway's probably going to be exclusively preparing for that because
is the thing. I think the tricky thing is like they use it a lot on attack, which means it's easier for them to switch out if it doesn't work out, whereas if you want to counter a Doomfist, it really has to be a comp. Sort of, you have to come out with a McCree or something like that. So you have to really commit to, they're going to run a Doomfist. I trust that they're going to run a Doomfist, and you have to commit to like a pretty major roster decision. A comp decision. Yeah,
that also applies the other side as well, because when the Doomfist isn't working, Sparkle can't switch to Diva because he does not play that hero. A lot of DPS do not play that hero, so it's kind of like just putting your faith in it as well. Wasn't there this one match? I remember watching the post-match interview, I think, with Element Mystic. They weren't really planning to run a Doomfist, but then they realized that they were so much better than the other team that they just decided to do it anyway.
They were just like, yeah, it works, let's go with it.
Sparkle was like, I'm having fun, I want to keep doing this. And they were like, fine.
Do what you want, I guess. He's a... Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Sparkle. He can do whatever he wants.
That has, in fact, been the general conclusion of a lot of casters as well. This is just Sparkle. We can't really do much about it.
It's not really like a strategy thing. It's just a Sparkle thing.
Yeah.
It's not like they're outplaying the team. It's Sparkle's playing the game.
All right, so that concludes it for this episode. Hope it was interesting. Sen, if you want to take us out.
Thanks for tuning into Hot Pot with Sen, Bonnie, and Becky. We hope you've enjoyed listening to us blathering on into your ear holes this week. And you guys can find us on Twitter at OWHotPot. So you can talk to us that way and let us know if there's any topics you guys want to hear us discuss. So thanks as always for listening and supporting us, and see you next week. Bye.
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 Bye.